supposed to stay, too far to leave. I guess that's just life on this borderline.
Hello YouTube, Jeff Bosco here. Past year and a half or so, my mixing has been growing fairly steady rate, but in the past month or two, I've been kind of realizing that a few things need to change, and I kind of knew what some of them were. But around the same time as I started having these little epiphanies, these certain mixing tutorials started showing up in my YouTube feed, and of course, like anything, you know, it took a few times of the algorithm tapping me on the shoulder to go, hey, I probably should pay attention to this. And so I finally clicked on one after about 4 or 5 attempts by YouTube, the Google machine, as it were. And I clicked on the first one. I was like, I'm not sure about this guy. And he seemed to mimic like the my least favorite ASMR style that I've non-lovingly dubbed glue mouth for obvious reasons. But I don't remember exactly which video it was, but I was kind of like, he's talking some really out there stuff as far as what I was used to from YouTube mix tutorials, and it's kind of like, you know, taking it in stride, but he was really hitting some tender spots, I guess you'd say, and got to the end of the video, and then I heard his theme music for the first time. It played during the intro, but I wasn't really paying attention, and I went, oh, okay, I guess that's all I really need to know about this guy as far as his mixing credentials go, because I realized that a lot of the things that I was hearing in his mix were kind of things I was starting to get frustrated about in my own mixes. And so I started watching all of his tutorials, and all this densely packed accumulated knowledge that he was able to fit in some videos that are even less than 5 minutes long. I was astounded. And they were not so much, you know, a lot of them were practical, but most of it was just philosophical stuff. And today I'm going to go through the top 3 things that he talked about that I use to make my best mix to date. Number 3, properly setting the distance of a source to the listener. And before I get into that, I just want to say something about this track that I got from a website, Cambridge Music Technology, where you can download a bunch of different multi-tracks so you could build your portfolio and mix them yourself. This is Secretariat, the song Borderline, and it's a fantastic song. I'm so glad I found it, and I spent a lot of time trying to find the right song for this project, and boy, did I ever. It's perfect. If anybody knows anything about this band, I couldn't really find too much about them. Please let me know in the comments, because I really like their stuff. Let's get back to number 3 on the list. Okay, here I have going from the verse into the chorus. I have this acoustic guitar. And I have it kind of fading into the background, but not so much with volume, but there's a lot of other things that go into making it appear to go away from the listener. And the big one, obviously, is reverb. I'll solo that out. So obviously the first thing is always reverb. Reverb makes things sound farther away. And I'll show you my effects chain here. The first thing I did is just This is throughout the entire track, using the Red 3 compressor from Focusrite. And it's just taking a few dB off. Maybe it peaks to like 3.5. And that's at a high ratio, high threshold, quick attack, relatively quick release. That's just to take some very, very top peaks down just a tiny bit. And the second thing I have here for the chorus is transient shaper, and this takes care of the bulk of it. And this really affects how closely and far away we hear things. So if I turn that up, even with everything else on, you can just feel it getting farther away from you. And that's because as things get farther away, the transients get muted. They get dissipated by the surroundings. And that I did know. That comes, I learned that from Dave Pensato. But the thing I was doing wrong was in the EQ section. I would take out a bunch of top end, and it's not really the top end, it's the mid highs, around 5 to 7K, and I should have been able to figure that out, but I had to learn it from Greg. So I have a little big trench there. As I bring that back, you can hear it getting, even with everything else on. So it's a matter of transients, reverb, volume, and EQ all working together to make things disappear into the background a little bit. And it just adds a sense of space for the listener. I'll take it from the verse. All right, number 2 on the list. Balanced mixes are boring mixes. I had a tough time deciding between number 2 and number 1, but I decided to go with this for number 2 just because they were so interconnected with where I wanted to go with my mixes. But the number 1 just was stuff that I was already kind of I already kind of knew that I had to change. But I'll get to that when I get to number 1. But I already mentioned that when I heard the intro and outro music, I just lit up because I had gotten to the point where my mixes were, I realized I was overcompressing everything, just trying to get everything to fit and get everything loud. And I realized how boring and clean that was making my mixes sound. So when I saw that video, I was like, and heard his music, I was like, yes, okay, that's what my mixes are supposed to sound like. Even if I'm not, that's his style of recording drums, isn't my style of recording drums, but it was, it's not the kind of sound I go for, but the overall mix is exactly, it sounds alive. And that's kind of what I was getting frustrated about my own mixes. And in that video, he just totally nailed exactly the things I was doing wrong. And basically, I knew as soon as I heard it, I was like, oh, less compression, more saturation. And that's kind of what I wanted to get, wanted to do with this mix. Compress as little as possible. And I still think I'm still very, kind conservative with the amount of, compared to him anyway, with the amount of saturation I got, and I'm not sure if I did everything the way you're quote unquote supposed to, but yeah, as you can hear, I'll actually pull up I'll pull up the completed mix for this. And as you can see on this, these are the stems that I used to master. There's still a lot of dynamics in those peaks. And I barely put any, this is the guitar stem right here. I barely put any compression on any of the guitars. And this is what I would normally make a drum track sound like, and that's the that's the output of the bus that I used to give me that drum crush sound that I could add into the clean drum.
Too far to leave. I guess that's just life on this borderline.
And in the number one position is mix faster, making smaller moves. And this was just monumental. When I started my last mix, the way I go about it is I'd start a mix and I would do a bunch of technical things first. You know, I would get everything to sound the way I wanted it to sound. And I would get in there and even ride the fader on every single drum hit. As I was doing that, I was going, you know, I'm not actually mixing. And I'm thinking to myself, I still have all the hard part of making all these creative decisions and no automation done. And I thought to myself, you know, I really should. My next mix, I'm going to make all those hard decisions first. I'm going to do all the automation at the beginning of the mix. And when I started thinking that, it was not long after that the Kush videos started showing up. And the real important thing to me was that, you know, I was doing all this stuff that I find fun and interesting rather than making hard decisions. It was kind of like the movie Wonder Boys. Michael Douglas's character, he's trying to write this novel, and he keeps writing these long subplot lines that his characters are going through rather than making all the hard decisions to get the novel finished. And I remember watching that movie, and I knew that's exactly what I was doing. It's a little different application than the way he put it in the video, as the way it applied to me. But what I found was that when I made those early creative decisions first, it allowed me to not have to do as much, because then I could look at the entire mix and say, what do I need to do now that I've gotten all these hard decisions out of the way? I didn't need to flatten all the dynamics to make it loud, make the mix loud. I didn't need to add 6 dB of 3K get the kick drum to punch through a overcompressed mix. And just making that realization just shaved so much time off of how much time a mix would take. So yeah, I think I said everything I wanted to say, and I'm just going to get right to the mix now. All right. Go check out House of Kush. His videos are awesome. Thanks, Greg, for making them, taking the time to make them.
there's hope for this city come summer, and everything turns to green. Right now, cold wind is making the water gray than I've ever seen. Maybe a company will come and rebuild warehouses rusted right through to the frame. Signs put up, no number, no name. I would not say that everything's fine. That's just life on the borderline. Too close to stay, too far to leave. I guess that's just life on this borderline. Somehow the colors of red, white, and blue have bled into old paint. Is the Canadian dollar strong enough to buy a young man a drink? Maybe the Native Americans will save 3 hotels in the center of town, 9 floors up, 1 story down. Everything's fine. That's just life on the borderline. I would not say that everything's fine. That's just life on the close to stay, too far to leave. I guess that's just life on this borderline.